pull out. Okay. Who else here did not get their periodic table? Or Jesse? Okay, so what do you want to ask me? We'll have interesting questions. Yes.
What kind of big essential questions or problems does the field of chemistry explore?
What kind of big problems does chemistry explore? That was the question. Big problems. Is this more like philosophical or like actual?
Philosophical.
Philosophical? Okay. Well, then it's kind of like two-part, right? Like, I feel like as chemists, we want to use our skills to help humanity in any way that we can. So that can be achieved in a lot of different ways. And actually some people have different kind of their own philosophies on what benefits humankind and what doesn't. So some people, I think everyone can agree that like cisplatin, like killing cancer, like that's a good thing. That adds value to society. But then other chemists, we do research that's kind of so out there that you don't even know how can I use this research to like benefit society, you know, where it's like, oh, we're working with like, you know, molecules that only can exist in like a vacuum chamber. Once you bring it outside, it dies. Like, how is that useful to humanity, right? But you know, it's a lot of the skills we learn along the way. And so I'm kind of in that second camp. I did a lot of research that you'd be hard pressed to see how does this benefit society directly. I'm not curing cancer right this moment, but I can bring a lot of value in other ways through my skills. So that's more philosophical. But in my research personally, what I tried to do was build molecules to help the solar cell industry. So in all research, chemistry, physics, whatever, we need money to do research, right? So all those professors, they need to come up with some type of story to get research grant money. And so there's always some type of problem we're tackling, always. So it might be, you know, drug synthesis, drug delivery. There's a lot of money there. Or in my case, it was the solar cell industry. So that was like my money bag. But like, was the product I was doing, like the chemistry I was doing, would that ever make a actual working solar cell that I could put on my house? No, nowhere near it. But that research was still tangential to it. Okay. I don't know if that answered the question. Other things.
How do chemists in your group or like around the world, how do you communicate? Or how do chemists communicate with just like
Okay, so the question was, how do chemists communicate with one another? Through research papers. The internet was invented to spread scientific knowledge. That, you know, someone would collect some data on an instrument in Brazil, share it to the internet, so someone in North America didn't have to do it again, you know? So before, actually, if we think about it historically, how chemical knowledge was spread was through pamphlets. So kind of close to research papers today, but literally they were like flyers that they would hand out. It's like, oh, like Lord Henry discovered helium, and then they would write a pamphlet and they'd like send it out by, I don't know, carrier pigeon or something like that. But that's how they used to communicate. And scientific discovery, you know, worked at a snail's pace, because oftentimes people were researching the same thing at the same time, but now things move a lot faster. And so chemists in general, they communicate virtually instantly through the internet and research papers. So it's funny, I say research papers, but you will never actually find a paper anymore. It's all on the internet. So even if you go through some of these like old offices, you'll see in old offices, like where people are retired, you'll see a lot of what looks like magazines. And that's how they used to, and I don't mean used to, I mean like in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s, they still communicated via, instead of pamphlets, it was a stack of pamphlets. So it was in a, basically like a magazine that published papers. And even that process was slow, but nowadays everything is online through, you know, the internet. So. And that's how you're able to search for things too, right? When you need to cite sources and stuff. Yeah, if they're fairly new sources, then they're all online. Okay, so there's some more questions. Actually, before I answer some questions on Zoom here, can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Yes, okay, perfect. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna do one on Zoom. I'm only gonna do the ones I like. Whoops. Okay, so this question, Audrey says, what would you say your area of study, field, or discipline is? Is it just chemistry? Would it be something more specific? Okay, buckle up, guys. So technically, I am not a professor. I'm not a professor. Like, do you call your teachers professors sometimes, or doctor, whatever? Yeah. So, I mean, maybe to you, a doctor and a professor mean the same thing. Like you say Dr. N, Professor N, whatever. They kind of mean the same thing. They're actually different. Did you know that? They're different. So in the States, professor means someone who's tenured and does independent research. So for a chemist, they study chemistry. For a physics professor, they're studying physics, writing those research papers, getting grant money from the higher ups. Okay. I don't do any of that. All I do is teach you guys. I don't want to say I'm just a lecturer, but that's my job. I teach those sections. So really, my job is to teach you guys. I don't do any novel chemical research, unfortunately. I want to. I really want to. That's something I want to do. I just don't have time to do chemical research for, not that I would do it. So the goal is for my chemical research, if I would do it, is make a project that an undergraduate could do in a summer or a semester or two, so they could get lab skills under their belt and then maybe present something. So something an undergrad could do. Yeah.
What do you think are like solar cell?
I did my solar cell research in my graduate studies. Yeah, in my graduate studies. So this was like 2014 to 2019. Yeah, so now I haven't touched, honestly, I haven't touched chemistry in like 5 years. Not here. I started teaching at OSU Lima. I started teaching at OSU Lima, and actually there, so it's a smaller school, so I was the lecturer and the lab instructor, which you guys would probably like if I taught your lab. Or maybe not, because I'd yell at you for even longer. No, so I taught lab there, so I was in lab and helping students do lab. That was probably the last time I did chemistry. So now here, I teach here. I just do lecture and recitation. I mean, I don't do the recitations, I design them, but I have done very little chemistry. So I'm a lecturer. Yeah, so when you think about like tenure professors, that they're talking about research professors. I don't have tenure. I could get fired tomorrow. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, they asked how did I get involved in solar cell research? I like light. That's why I have my code. Because white light is just composed of colors of the rainbow. And we'll learn about this in chapter 6. So I like light and I like lasers. I thought lasers were really cool. Yeah, so that's why I did solar cell research. What would I research if I had time? So remember the money bags in the sky I mentioned that we all have to be aware of, because we can't do research for free. We gotta get money somewhere. So I recognize that there's a lot of opportunity in Ohio, in Columbus particularly. Intel, all right, their new semiconductor plant. Honda, their new $5 billion electric vehicle plant that they're building in Grove City. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of money there. And I would love to train students and not and be able to show those industries, hey, we're training students for your specific field, and then they get money. That's the goal. Money to support the students, right? Because doing research isn't free. All right. And, you know, maybe if there's grants or something, even like pipe dream guys, but like that it would be competitive to try to work for me, right? Like I could only, you know, hire 4 or 5 students. It becomes competitive because students know like, oh, you get paid or whatever, like, or you're guaranteed a spot at like Intel or something. Like that's the dream, guys. But I'm not there yet. Okay, I did enough on Zoom. What else? Oh, we already asked one. Yeah.
What is, would you say like the most important skills?
Or his skills. I hope you're just writing everything. Yeah, all the questions? Or you're just answering, writing yours down? All of them? Okay. And also feel free to leave whenever. Also, did you get a Pyrrhic table? Okay, all right. There's a sentence. Yes. Okay. Wait, what was the question? A chemist or for myself. I think actually what makes a great student is being a good learner. Actually, to just be a decent human, it all comes down to, can you be a good learner? Are you a good learner? And college is really good at that, doing that, teaching you, pushing you to reach your limits. You're going to be wrong so many times, but you need to learn to how to pick yourself up from that experience and learn from it, you know? So, you know, it's not, it never looks good to like be wrong and then just like wallow in self-pity of like, boo-hoo, I was wrong. But it's to, you know, take that feeling. It never feels good to be wrong, guys, but take that feeling and fix it, you know? And I think anything can be learned. I'm a chemist, yeah, but like if I had to, and if I had to learn biology, I would, for not to, but like I could do it. Because I had a good undergrad where I was challenged. I had a great graduate program where I was challenged every day. I was wrong every day. I can learn how to do anything. My dryer broke this weekend. I did normal troubleshooting things to try to fix it. I know nothing about dryers, all right, but I took the thing apart and I fixed it within 24 hours. It was the belt. You can learn how to do anything, all right, with just a can of WD-40 and like a multi-tool, you can fix anything. So I'm not a electrician or whatever, but I did fix the dryer. Well, and I'm really cheap because here's the thing. I looked up to see how much a dryer costs, a new one. And like the cheapest one was like $500 and it wouldn't ship for like a week. And then it's like, well, they need to haul the old one away and it's in the basement. So then I was like, I'll just try to see if I can fix it. It's an easy fix. And it was an easy fix. Yeah. So yeah, just being a really good learner. So you can Google anything. Google is not off limits. When you enter the workforce and get a job, you're not going to know everything. But what they expect you to do is not wallow in your self-pity, but to figure out like where your weakness is and then get to a point and prove yourself so you know are at the level of your other colleagues and stuff. You know, you can learn anything, you can Google anything, right? Except on exams, of course. Yes, but like that's the great, you know, day and age we live with. Like all information's at our fingertips. Yeah. Okay. That was a good question. Yeah. Yeah. Who? What? Yeah, so like that question was kind of here. It was like, why do I study chemistry? Like, why am I still excited, interested in chemistry? I don't know. I kind of like, to be honest, and see, this is why I like doing this in an informal setting, not office hours, because I can just like say whatever I want. You don't have to worry about electrolytes. I fell into chemistry by accident. I fell into it by accident. And the reason, so in high school, like I was a good student, right? I was good at math, I was good at sciences, and so I knew I had to go into some fields, and because of my parents, that would lead to going to become a doctor. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Yes. Okay. So I knew it had to be the sciences. Back then I was really crunchy. Do you know what that means? I wore Birkenstocks. A lot of you do too. I like wouldn't shave. I did the no shampoo thing, like I wouldn't wash my hair thing. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, all right. So I was like a tree hugger. So at my local university, I saw that they had a major. It's called environmental chemistry. It's like, ooh, environment. Yeah, I loved environmental sciences. That I had that AP class, environmental science. I thought that was really cool. And side note, I actually never took AP chemistry. So yeah, so environmental chemistry. I chose that major. I went to a small university, local school. I ended up going there because I got a full ride there. And I'm glad that I went there actually. And it was chemistry. It was essentially chemistry with a little bit of bio. That's what it was. So I took the Gen Chem sequence, and by I don't know, like year two, once I took the whole Gen Chem sequence, I think I finished organic and then like got into physical chemistry. I realized, oh my gosh, I love this. I love like making stuff, and then like studying it, like making a molecule and then like putting it into an instrument to like it tell me, did I make the molecule or not? I love that. I love making what you study. And I realized I really like the electron. I thought the electron was awesome. That like it's so weird, and I just wanted to keep studying it. And so I ended up okay, and then actually what cinched the deal is I did really poorly in bio 101. I got like a B. Because I really didn't try. Well, I would sit in the back of the room and like just knit. I really didn't like bio. And I had to take more bio to get my environmental chemistry degree. So I told my advisor, I'm like, let's just drop the environment part. Let's just do bio, or sorry, just do chemistry. And I then, yeah, that's what I did. So just chemistry. And then it was like my junior or senior year when you start like trying to decide what you're going to do after school. And I was getting really anxious. I still was under the assumption I was going to go to like I think for a while I wanted to be an optometrist. I thought that was cool. You know, like doctor. Like I didn't want to go to med school. I wanted to do, I don't know, still be called a doctor, but not do that much school. Right. So I looked into optometry, pharmacy, and I think I settled on pharmacy in like junior year or something. And I think I started telling my friends this, like my like other junior chemistry friends. And then I think word got around to my professors that I was going to apply to pharmacy school. And one by one, they all took me aside. They said, don't go to pharmacy school, go to grad school. All of them, they all did. They're like, you're better than this. Go to grad school. And I'm like, what's grad school? And I learned that grad school that you can, I could study the electron for 5 more years and do it for free. And they pay me. Yeah, so that's actually what cinched the deal. That's why I study chemistry. It's actually a lot of people who had instrumental changes in my view of school. I thought in order to become a doctor, you had to go to medical school, but getting a PhD, I did so in 5 years. I earned my PhD at 27. Yeah, 27, people were calling me doctor. I know, isn't that crazy? And I did so without paying a dime. I lived above Buckeye Donuts for 5 years. It was fantastic. It was great. Yeah, because I could just walk to school. It was great.
So you went to grad school here, but your undergrad was
It- In Pennsylvania, yep.
so how did you get like apply and maybe
So all grad schools like that. So all grad schools, we actually get paid by our work as a GTA. So like your lab and recitation TAs, those are graduate students. So that's how we earn our paycheck. And so our tuition is completely paid for. Yeah. See, I didn't find this out until I was like 20 and it blew my mind. And so in my dissertation, okay, if you look up my dissertation and the acknowledgments, I write to my parents, I became the doctor you wanted, but just with a different kind and with a lot less debt. My parents still don't understand what I do. Because after I graduated, like my mom watched me walk across the stage at the shot. And she's like, hey, so now you work at hospital, right? Like you go work at the hospital. I'm like, no, mom, I'm a book doctor. And she's like, oh, and I still don't think she understands. She didn't understand that I got to school for free because she helps my brothers go through like professional schools and stuff. And they assumed that you gotta go into debt and pay all this money. And so my mom thought I was homeless because I didn't have loans or anything. I'd visit home every so often. She tried to give me money and I'd take it, but it was fine. It was fine. We got a paycheck. School is covered. So it's like that for any of the sciences, physics, engineering, go to graduate school, get a PhD. Yeah, and I try to tell people that because especially folks like first generation students, because I didn't even know that was, I thought all professional schools were, you had to pay for it, but that's not the case. It's not the case. So was that news to everyone here? Yes. Is anyone considering grad school? Yeah, so the things that like the TAs, that's how they earn their job or their. Yes. Guys, me and my husband, we both had full rights to undergrad. One for me because I'm smart, but him because his mom was a janitor at the school. So we both got full rights to undergrad. Then we both came here separately. Like we did not meet undergrad. Then we both came here separately for graduate school. We both got our PhDs, and neither of us have any debt. None, zero. That's why we bought a farm. So, yeah. Okay. Okay, that was a long answer. Any other questions relating to grad school? Also, there's other options. So actually, let me illuminate. A PhD means it's a doctorate in philosophy. So it's a book doctorate. It's exactly what it is. But so how it works is you get your undergrad, what you finish at like 22, most people, right? Then you go straight to graduate school. And then for me, I just got my PhD in 5 years. There's no master's. You can. Some students do get a master's in like during their PhD studies. Some people leave the program like midway through and they'll do what they call master out. Like they'll stay for 2 years, realize like, because it's hard. It's a lot of work. Like I can't do it. And so they leave with something, they leave with a master's. And that's good too. I mean, there's a lot you can do with a master's, but yeah, stay the whole 5-6 years, then get a PhD. Yeah.
Program, are you taking like multiple classes in addition to doing like lab research?
Yeah, so this is why being a grad student is really tough. And so you should be nice to your instructors because they are facing a lot of imposter syndrome right now because they don't feel like they're adequate. Because as a grad student, your first year, you take classes. It's a lighter load. So I think I only took classes my first year. And this is part of the PhD program. It's not the master's part. It's just the PhD program. Some people just leave early and leave with a master's instead. So you take classes, maybe like 9 credit hours a term, the equivalent, but only for 1 year. and then you're done with classes. So you're doing classes, you're teaching at the same time. So you are a student and a teacher, and you're doing research. So you have 3 hats and you feel inadequate in all of them. But that's how you grow a lot, you know? Yeah. So I felt that way too. I still have imposter syndrome. Like I don't deserve what I have or whatever, but it gets easier with time.
What would you suggest for someone who's currently in undergrad to like start doing in order to get into grad school?
What do you need to do to get into grad school? Just get good grades, continue doing what you're doing. Honestly, it's a lot of folks who, I don't want to say folks who can't get into med school, they do grad school. You need to have the passion for either of them. I write a lot of letters for students to go to med school. And, you know, the one thing I look for students is their heart in it? Or is it someone in their family telling they have to do it? You know, because I personally can't write a letter for someone if their heart's not into it. Because I don't want them to spend all that money, you know, and 2, they're just going to be miserable if they're doing something that they really truly don't want to do. So, but for graduate school, the same deal. You need to have that willingness to study one thing for 6 years. I don't want to say miserable for 6 years. I was miserable with friends, and we were all paid. So like we all had roofs over our heads. We all had enough money to go down High Street to the bars on the weekends. It was a great time. And so I would absolutely go to grad school again. If you ask my husband, he said he would not go to grad school again. So, but that's, you know, everyone's choice. But continue doing what you're doing. Stay curious. You know, get good grades. What really helps is having a research aspect. Like, can you be in the lab, answering, you know, formulating questions and designing experiments to answer them? And that's true for not just chemistry, but biology and stuff. Like, you have some type of question in mind, and can you design something to answer that question? You know, and this is a lot about like, you know, what skills does a chemist need? So that's also this question. I don't know, like what skills surprised me about chemistry or something. I don't know. Is problem solving. And I think that's a transferable skill anywhere. And for me personally, as like a chemist who teaches public speaking also. So I was part of a lot of organizations in undergrad and grad school where I was put into thankless positions, like leadership positions that no one wanted to do. But I was happy to do them. And so that gave me a lot of skill for, you know, general just speaking skills. I used to be scared when I would teach. Now I'm not scared. No, I'm always scared the first day. Take a little bit, but then it's gone. Yeah. I actually like teaching classes of 300. Yeah. Fun. It's when it's small and like impersonal, like this. I don't like this. Because silence is like deafening, but like in the lecture hall, there's always some rumbling. Something. Okay. Okay, let me look here and see if I do a different question up here. Oh, this is a direct question for me. Okay, this person says, did you want to keep your last name when you got married since your title is doctor, or did you change your last name? I told you I wanted interesting questions. See, that's an interesting question. Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the challenge. Both me and my husband are doctors. We both have PhDs. So his last name is Click. My last name is Wynn. It's spelled all weird. And so, but yeah, that's an issue we still talk about. So we are married. But I kept my last name because I earned my PhD with that last name. So like my dad's name, right? And so my father actually passed away shortly after I earned my PhD. It was right before I actually started working here at main campus, because that was like a big thing for me. Like that was a huge step forward. So he passed away like right before then. And so part of me just likes having his last name, you know, on all my things. And I earned my degree with that last name. So there's no reason for me not to get rid of it. So I just keep it. Yeah. So yeah, it makes for wedding invitations interesting. I like to see when our friends send us wedding invitations, how do they address it? Because I can tell if they know us well or not. If they put, you know, Lisa and Kevin Click, I know they don't know us very well. But if they put like Kevin Click and Lisa Wynn, then yeah, it's like they know us well. So there's a little bit of that. Also, if I change my last name, then my YouTube handle won't work. Because you know my YouTube handle? Let's Win Chemistry. I know, right? And so when you see it, I mean, you might not notice it right away, but it was deliberate. It won't work. Okay. Yeah, I like that question. After Gen Chem 1 and 2, should you go into biochem or OChem? Is there a difference? Personally, I think you should do OChem first, then biochem. Personally. Yeah. Okay. What do I love most about my farm? Does chemistry mesh into that? Yes, it's the problem solving. I told you guys, my dryer broke this weekend and I fixed it. And here's the thing, I didn't break the dryer. It's my husband, he broke the dryer. I know, he just left it there. He just left it there. Chemist too could have problem solved it. Oh yeah, we're both chemists. Yeah. So but on the farm we more act like engineers, like that we problem solve a lot of things that way. But we totally use our chemistry every day. Actually, just the other day, I don't know if anyone's in here. We talked about this in office hours today. We were sitting by the fire, just like chilling, and he asks, "What is fire?" No, really, like, what is it? Have you thought about it? No? Not in fire.
Like, anyone would know.
I know. Well, here's the thing. This is what smart people do. We argue about it for a couple minutes and then we Google it. All right. We argue about it. We think about what's the most plausible thing. All right. So like I know fire, it produces light, right? So it's releasing energy, all right, photons. But the idea here is like it's releasing light, but it doesn't cast its own shadow. So it's not like an object. It's not matter. Because here you can try this at home. If you light a lighter and then take like your phone light and shine it on it, you'll see your hand shadow, but you won't see the flame shadow. The flame does not have a shadow. Isn't that interesting?
All those movies where they have the same shadow, they're doing it wrong.
I'm pretty, if you see like you know what I'm talking, but yeah, go home and try it. Are you gonna try it? You won't see a shadow of the flame. You'll see the wick. If you're doing a candle, you'll see the wick, but you won't see anything else. But so here's the thing. If it's a candle and it's releasing light, then that might make it look like a candle being cast. It's if you shine a light on a candle, it won't make it. Okay. But anyway, so these are the things we're talking about. We're like, okay, it's high energy, you know, it must be some type of plasma, really energetic gases, right? And so, yeah, and that's what it was. Fire is a plasma. So, and you might think, what's a plasma? It's the fourth state of matter we never talk about, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. To turn a solid into a liquid, what do you do? Heat it up. And then when you take a liquid into a gas, what do you do? Or you heat it up, just real general. So if a plasma is just a really energetic gas, what do you do to turn a gas into a plasma? Heat it up. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. So fire is just ionized, so really energetic, like CO2 and oxygen particles and stuff. Yeah. What class did I struggle the class that I really struggled.
Like you actually
Okay, so I W'd out of and failed. Okay, so I W'd out of one class. I gave up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I gave up in the middle of the year when it was after, so yeah, after the whatever drop period, and then the second I failed. Okay, and I still have a PhD. So the class I W'd in it was history of chemistry. I'm not very good at history. I don't even know what came first, World War I or II. It's kind of a joke, but like I'm not very good at history. I watched like half of Dunkirk with my husband because he likes war stuff, and I was like, which war is this? And I think he said two. I think I don't know, and I was just like, where's Hitler or something? Oh, no. Yeah, so history of chemistry. I was overloaded that semester. So I think I was taking like 18 credits. So I was taking like physics, organic, and that class. And it was just too much. So I W'd out of it. And I actually, so here's the resolution that's where I took it again my senior year because I could wait. And I loved that class so much because I had a lesser load. So I could focus on it. So I could appreciate the historical dates and facts and really understand how does chemistry fit in our society. You know, how these like certain chemical events completely changed our world, you know? So like the when they invented dynamite, right? The possibilities of human beings just exploded. We're at the point where like chemical and like scientific changes don't. I'm trying to think of an example maybe in your lifetime that like really changed. Like maybe electric cars, maybe, but see, they're not a super good replacement of like regular cars yet. So that's not a good example. I'm trying to think of something that just like completely changed society. I don't know. I don't know. Well, there was a time where like cell phone towers, you know, we didn't have 4G internet or 5G internet everywhere. Yeah, back when I was in college, phones, they just called people and texted people. That's it. So now we're in a day and age where everything, the entire internet's at our fingertips. So that's a big change, right? But like back then, them inventing dynamite, huge change. Could literally change the landscape of Earth. Inventing ways of preserving food was so fermentation was a huge change, which is a chemical change. And there's some biochemistry there too. But that was a huge change in society because that's how we went from a hunter-gatherer society where we were nomadic and we had to like move around because we couldn't store food. We had to constantly be searching for fresh food until they discovered like preservation methods, like salt curing, fermentation, where then we became an agricultural society and we could stay in one place. That's a huge, and like I was not in the space to appreciate that as a sophomore, but I did as a senior, and it was actually my favorite class. It's my favorite class, even though I hate history. No, I'm not just not good at it. And then so that was the class I W'd in. What was my favorite gen ed course? I don't know. I don't know what gen ed means.
Any courses you want to take?
Okay, so that would be this one that I'm going to talk about right now. Well, I don't think it was my favorite. Yes, the first time. So, I would say it's my favorite, but it is a story I can tell. So, this class that I failed was a honors class. So I was in the honors college in undergraduate. And so they make us, one of our gen eds we had to take was, it was a world literature, which is very generic. And it is because the class was whatever teacher was teaching it, whatever professor was teaching it, they could choose whatever they wanted that class to be, right? So it really depended on what the professor was, but for a long time it was this one professor, and I remember I took it. I think it was the spring of my first year, so I was still like a baby freshman, you know. So his version of world literature was a lot of Shakespeare and stuff. But the thing is, this man was a devout Catholic, and he loved to ask exam questions that related like the Bible to Shakespeare. And my class was primarily white people who did know the Bible. So the only experience I have from religion is actually from The Simpsons. So I was at a major disadvantage because I could not participate in class discussions because it'd be like, oh, how did King Lear's plight like relate to like the New Testament? And I'm like, what? Like the reading assignment was Shakespeare, not the Bible. And so I failed that class. Yeah, it was, and it was my freshman year. Yeah. So, but apparently, so this was an honors class. So not only was it a GE, you needed this one class to graduate with honors from the honors college. And so I remember like my junior year, I talked to the dean of the honors college. I'm like, what can I do? Like, I am happy to retake the class. I will retake the class or will you wipe that and allow me to graduate from the honors college? Because I got all the other requirements like that I needed. It was just that one class. And he looked at me, he sighed, because apparently that professor failed a lot of people that year. So I feel less bad. Okay. But it didn't, that was not a safe space for me, that class. No, I hated going because I just, I tell you be wrong and like be loud about it, but like being wrong in that space, like I could offend people. So I didn't like to talk at all. Yeah, that was not a good class. So here's the moral of the story. So I ended up retaking the class. Okay, world literature, but it ended up being taught by someone else. And it became a feminism class. Yeah. And so remember, I'm taking this class as a senior. Okay. And so this class is usually taken by freshmen. Yeah, no, so it was fun because I had no filter by then. Like I didn't care anymore, right? And so I did not care to voice my opinion about stuff, but all these like cute little freshmen, like they were all scared. And so the professor, she loved me because she's like, ooh, strong woman in STEM. I love it, and then that class became a safe space. I wanted to read. I think it was Jane Eyre, but from the perspective of like the crazy lady, like Bertha. Yeah, I think it's that book. Yeah, so a different perspective of, yeah. And so I love that class and I enjoyed reading. I enjoyed giving feedback to it, but also the professor was very nurturing and recognized that like some of the quieter folks, they didn't want to, contribute as much to discussions, but I don't think like she didn't fail. She didn't fail people. So yeah, so that was my comeback story. Okay, yeah. Why did I choose to buy a farm? I joke, guys. It's not like really a farm. It's like it's 20 acres. It's mostly wooded, but it takes my husband like 2 hours to mow the grass. I have chickens and ducks, and we hunt on it. Yeah, but like it's not like a rolling hills of wheat type of thing. Yeah, I don't have time for that. No, I just have a garden the size of this room with rotting tomatoes in it right now. Yeah, but it's okay. You can still like make salsa and stuff from. You just cut the bad parts off. It's fine. We like privacy. And I think we like solving problems. Me and my husband, we're both really cheap. So we like to buy things. We have a lot of toys because we buy stuff super cheap and fix them up. So our latest, no. So our latest purchase was, I think I told you guys, like a golf cart thing. We got it super cheap. All right. And it's been really fun because it has like a bed on it and it's 2-seater. So like when me and my husband were riding through our trails, we can sit side by side, which is kind of nice because before I'd always have to like ride or, someone's riding someone else. So there's that. and then we got we got a tractor, which we don't use as much, but it's a big, powerful machine. And then like two years ago, we bought an RV. Thinking, I don't know, we were kind of just like interested in one, but then like a deal fell on our lap and we just took it. But it was kind of broken. Tree fell on it. And so it was sold really cheap, but we fixed it up. And now it runs great. Now we have an RV. And we've like I learned a lot of electricity things about, I don't like electricity. Kind of scares me because it can hurt you a lot. I do know. See, here's the thing. My husband said this. I like electrons when they're discrete, when they're like a particle that you can. Electricity is like a river of electrons. It's unstoppable. So it's a little different. Yes, I like electrons, but I don't like electricity because it's unpredictable. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's why an hour. Yeah. So like right now, the largest electronic music festival is happening near my house. It's called Lost Lands. Does anyone know what that is? It's electronic music. It's crazy. But that will increase my commute because all of the traffic of people camping and stuff. Yeah, if I leave during rush hour, it's more like an hour 15. I keep being late for office hours on Thursday because I think leaving at like 8:15 is enough, but it's not. Okay, so right, you think an hour is long. When I worked at Lima, okay, Google where OSU Lima is or not. Here, I'll just show you with my hand. So if this is Ohio, Columbus is here. I actually live east of Columbus, right? So that's over here, I guess, in your direction. Lima's over here, over by Toledo. Yeah, my commute was 2.5 hours to Lima, and I did that for 3 semesters because I was waiting for someone to retire here. Yeah, so what I would do, they were nice, and I would book. They would have me teach Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They would make it, so I would just do that. So I would come up on Tuesday. I would stay at a hotel for 2 days and then go back. Yeah, but I did that for 2 semesters. Or sorry, 3.
Like one of those professors, like, not live in the area, but like, probably, because I've seen like people who like live in, like teach in New York, to like live out of state because it's just cheaper than like to commute there. Like,
well, so New York, it makes sense. I know a lot of people do that too. They live in New Jersey, but they work in New York, or even vice versa. But no, I did it. No, I knew I wanted to stay here because my husband, he works at Owens Corning, which is east of Columbus. So it's like Columbus. So we needed to stay here. He makes all the money. And so my job out of graduate school, that was an opportunity for me to get experience, and that's what I needed. And so I just didn't want a void on my resume, essentially. So I worked there to get more experience, and I waited for people to retire here. Yeah. And so so it wasn't for monetary reasons. No, I just needed the experience. Yeah. I remember once we had this crazy snowstorm, and I had to make it there for an 8 a.m. lab. I had to leave at 4 a.m. Yeah. And I think, I don't remember, did they cancel that day? I forget. They might have. And I'm still alive, thankfully. How much do I spend on gas per week? You could probably calculate it. Okay, so my car, well, so the example I did in class, it was for my Toyota Corolla. I actually drive a SUV to work because I like being, I feel safer being higher. And since I drive so much, so let's calculate it. Yes, okay, so it's actually not that much. It's because I only have to come in 2 times. I only teach on Tuesday and Thursday, and I'm really lazy, so I would come all the other days. Right? But I do. I need to come in on Monday and Fridays, because I still need to visit those labs. I've done the Wednesday labs. So, all right. So my commute is round trip. It's something like I think like 95 miles. Right. So my car averages like 23 miles to the gallon. Okay. Or 23 miles. Okay, 1 gallon, and then how much is gas right now?
I think it was like 360.
360. Okay. Okay, so that's for just one commute. Someone calculate that.
About 14.86, but I think that's wrong.
No, sorry. $14?
Yeah.
So like $15. Yeah, that sounds right.
That's
That's just one trip, one commute. Yeah, so $30 a week. So, or just think, okay, when I did that review session for you guys on a Sunday, I paid the $15 in gas for you. And someone downvoted my video on YouTube. I don't know. You're disgusting. I know, I'm sure. I do see the downvote. So, but 3 people upvoted it. Do it. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, we have 7 more minutes. What other? Okay, so I like this. But is OChem really as bad as people say? Okay. See, it's us people who are really good at Gen Chem, really good at math. We love the math. We're the ones that are saying OChem sucks because we're not good at anything that's not math. That's why. So if you get over yourself, that chemistry isn't just math. There's a lot of other underlying concepts, and you accept that going into organic, that it is nothing like Gen Chem. You will be a lot better for it. Actually, between classes, some former students of mine came in and they did pretty well in Gen Chem, and they came up to me and they're, Dr. N, we love organic so much. You know, they struggled with Gen Chem, they got decent grades, but for them, organic just clicked with them. It was like that missing piece that they didn't have. They weren't super behind all the math that we did in Gen Chem, but yeah, organic is much more intuitive for them. Good on them. So I tell students I wasn't super great at OChem. It was like my first like B or C in a chem class, probably my only B or C in a chem class, and I was a chem major. And the reason is because I treated it like Gen Chem. I thought I could study for it like Gen Chem. So you just can't do that. It's more it's all conceptual, actually. There's no math. It's literally no math. Yeah, I asked one of the organic professors, like, oh, will your OChem students ever need this? Ever need the periodic table that I give out? And also for people on Zoom, if you're on Zoom, how many people are here? Oh, there's still people here. You can, if you just come to me before or after class, I'll give you one of these because technically you are at office hours. I asked like an OChem professor, I'm like, oh, will your students ever need this? And they're like, no, they never calculate anything. They only need like these elements up here. That's it. Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen. That's it. So, yeah, no calculations. Maybe just percent yield, but that's it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the question is, how many hours a week did I study? Okay, so here is the university standard. They say for every hour in class, you should be spending 3 hours out of class to earn a C. Well, think about it this way. You know, you're taking 15 credit hours of classes, right? So 15 times 3, that's 45. So that's like a full-time job. You're a full-time student. That's what it should be. But here's the thing, I'm lazy. I'm really lazy. I value my time. So I personally will, and this took me a while. This took me like OChem 2 when I realized this. I need to study effectively. I need to study in a way that I retain knowledge. So I spend less time studying. So I only have to study something once and then I don't have to relearn it later. That's how I operate. That like my time is precious to me. So I will work super, super hard right now, so I don't have to relearn it later. That's actually my philosophy of life, is work hard now, be lazy later. Because if you work hard now, you won't have to make up for your mistakes later. Me and my husband, we work this way because it's like, if we need to fix something, we'll fix it right the first way, so we never have to fix it again. You know, we'll do it right the first time, measure twice, cut once type of thing, you know, and it really deep down, it's because I'm super lazy and I don't want to have to do it again. Because I hate seeing that when I see like my friends or like family, they like do a lazy fix. I'm like, you're just gonna, it's gonna be broken again in like a week and you're gonna be back at it. So that's how I study. I will, for example, like if I was doing homework, I would spend a really long time on homework, absurdly long time, because I wanted to understand everything before I submitted a question. So that helped me twofold, that it would improve my grade for homework, and two, I would actually understand things. So then when it came time for exams, I wasn't like scrambling, looking up concepts. I already knew things fairly well, so I could just go straight into doing like practice exams or practice problems. Yeah, so me, for example, I don't waste time reading the book unless I am lost. Because some students will think like, oh, I just need to put my, 15, my whatever hours in. I need to put my 45 hours in, so I'll do something like read the book. Okay, you're spending time reading the book, but is it actually effective? Like maybe your friends for the exam that you had earlier, your friend might have been like, oh, I studied for that exam for, 10 hours, studied for 10 hours. But like, how did they study? That's always the question I ask students when they, come to me for advice after like a bad test score. I'm like, well, how did you spend those 10 hours? They're like, oh, I read the book. That's not super effective. Once I had a student come up to me, they were like, I want to study better. I want to improve for midterm 2. And he said, so I bought a second textbook. And I was like, can you return it? Like, can you cancel the order? You do not need to be reading our textbook is already thick enough. It has all the information you need. All right. Or some students, they like to rewatch lecture videos. I'm not behind that. It's kind of like wasting your time. So to get the details, it's better to make mistakes and like practice problems and stuff, see more examples. So you're better prepared on the exam. Unless you're completely lost. You're like, if I say the word electrolyte and you have no idea what I'm talking about, then yeah, read the book or watch the lecture video. So you can just get the basic knowledge down, but you need to assess yourself. That's the thing. That's how you learn. If you assess yourself, you can show that, hey, I know these topics, versus just like recalling definitions. That's very much high school type of learning, like, yeah. So, okay. Oh, we're done. You're welcome, Daniel, for spending $15. Okay, I'll stop recording. So that's it. You're welcome, guys.